Well, hello everyone and welcome Ruth. Ruth is from the Bruce Trail Conservancy and we're so excited to be learning about the hikes that are local to us in this community and that families can attend and hike along. And we'll start today. Ruth, can you tell us about some of the family-friendly hikes that you would recommend in the Niagara region?
So locally in Niagara, the closest one to Grimsby is of course Beamer's Conservation area. So you can park at Lions Club Pool and hike up, or you can drive up to the parking lot just off of Quarry Road. So at Beamer's Conservation area, of course, that's where the annual Hawk Watch is. You can see the Hawk Watch Tower up there. And there's an old quarry up there. There's a beautiful view of Grimsby, and actually on a clear day, you can see all the way to Niagara Falls, and you can see the mist rising off the falls. It's very cool. Beyond Beamer Memorial Conservation Area, you can head over to Louth Conservation Area. There's a really nice loop there. Which will take you to Louth Falls and all kinds of moss-covered rocks, and there's a really special rock there that we nicknamed the Angel Rock, or the Angel of Louth Falls. And it's a rock shaped like an angel, really. And so be sure to look for that rock there. And beyond that, we have Balls Falls Conservation Area. There is a small fee at the parking at Balls Falls, but of course you've got the lower falls and the upper falls. There's all kinds of buildings there. There's, if you go a little bit further, there's a really, really high staircase, which you can go down, or you can go down to 20 Mile Creek and then come back up if you dare, because it is a pretty high staircase.
Do you have any tips on how families, how you can ensure a family has a safe hike and it's fun for everyone?
Well, since we live in the Niagara region, I always recommend that everybody gets checked at the end of the hike to make sure that no ticks have taken a ride. So that includes, you know, all parts of our body, our hair and everything. Somebody gave me a tip once that the best form of defense against ticks, of course, as well as some plants like poison ivy, is identification. So identification of poison ivy is key. And and for ticks, always carry a pair of tweezers, I always recommend. And that should be part of your kit, your backpacking kit. Okay. So in your backpacking kit, of course, you're going to bring first aid, including the tweezers, as well as, you know, bandages and anything else that you might like to have in your first aid kit. The tip that I wanted to say is always wear a hat, because ticks can drop off of trees onto your person. Many hikers tuck in their pant legs as a form of defense against ticks.
Are there any special things families should think about when they're planning their outings to be COVID-19 safe?
Right, so we just reopened the trail officially on June 3rd. And so since then, I have gone on hikes with some very close friends. Right now, we are limited to, I think it was up to 5 people on a hike, but I think that's changed now to up to 10 people. So smaller groups of hikers typically yield to larger groups of hikers. So if you are a family of 2 or 3, you would stop and just step off the trail slightly to the bigger group. And likewise, if you see somebody coming up the hill and you're going down the hill, you would yield to that person because it's harder to go up a hill than it is to go down a hill. So we step off the trail and we let the other hikers pass. We keep the social distance of 2 meters or 6 feet. And everybody is very respectful of that I have experienced so far.
Is there a time of day where it's a little quieter on the trails?
Yeah,
Have you noticed that?
I like to hike early in the morning because it's away from the heat of the day, and it's quieter, definitely quieter. I like to hike during the week as well because it's quieter during the weekdays than it is on the weekend.
At this time of year, what should kids be on the lookout for in terms of plants and wildlife?
Right. So we have just passed spring, and spring has some beautiful, beautiful spring flowers. Like the provincial flower is trillium, and all kinds of other flowers. And depending on where you hike on the trail, the northern sections even have a lot of different orchids, which are my favorite. I like to see the orchids, like the lady slippers and the yellow lady slippers. Beautiful, beautiful. So in the springtime, I always think of the spring flowers. In the summertime, I think of ferns and green. Green is everywhere. All the jewelweed comes up on the trail. It has a very small yellow flower or an orange flower. And fun fact is that jewelweed, which is rampant on the trail, is an antidote for poison ivy. Yeah, interesting, right? I mean, I've never used it, but I do appreciate the jewelweed because it's very pretty. So in the summertime, it's all about the green. It's the trees that are in full leaf. It's all of the jewelweed that comes up on the trail, as well as all the other plants. In the fall, I like to look at the mushrooms. We were hiking up in the Sydenham section last year, and I kid you not, we had puffballs that were like this big. I mean, they were amazing. And it's so much fun to see the mushrooms and the giant puffballs. And in the winter months, we don't have to be as cautious of, the things that we're bothered by, like poison ivy and ticks, although ticks can survive over the winter, depending on how severe the winter is. So in the winter months, you can definitely still hike. You just have to take extra precaution, like we wear icers or those cleats on our boots, and we dress a lot warmer. We dress in layers in the winter time so that once we get warmed up, we can take off a layer. Yeah. So year round you can hike, particularly in our area because we're in a milder climate down here than up in the peninsula, for instance.
What would you like to tell people about picking flowers and tasting things they see on the trail?
So there are wild leeks that come up in the springtime, and there's some wild ginger that people like to harvest, and people even like to pick the giant puffballs. So the rule of thumb is to leave no trace. So that means that anything we bring in, we take out.
I think that take a picture, and that's
me too.
Take a picture and enjoy that. Yeah, and definitely, I think you'll agree. Don't touch anything you're not sure about.
Right. Yeah, and that includes, that's extended to wildlife and salamanders that you might encounter, frogs. Yeah, we leave it all.
Just watch and enjoy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Kids love stories about scary things or exciting things you might have seen on the trail. Could you have any stories you'd like to share with us about your experiences?
Right. So I've hiked the Bruce Trail several times. And honestly, every time I've hiked up in the peninsula section of the trail, which runs from Wyerton to Tobermory, it's also my most favorite section of the trail because it's so beautiful. So every time I've hiked up there, I have encountered bears and eastern Massasauga rattlesnakes. So the great thing about the snakes is that they have a rattle and they hear you coming before you'll see them, generally. And you will know of their presence because they have the rattle shaking. They're shaking the rattle. So then you will hear them. And honestly, I think I've seen one every time I've hiked up there. They're more startling than anything else. They don't want to bother you, and you don't want to bother them, of course.
Are they big? So are they quite?
They're not like long, like some milk snakes are quite lengthy. Like they're shorter, but they're wider. And I have sent you a photo, Simone, so you can show that one photo and you'll see.
Terrific.
Yeah, bears. I have seen bears, I think, 3 times, but only from a distance. But I've sent a photo of a bear print, which is the front paw of a bear. And it was very fresh because it was a fresh imprint in some mud that we got in up there. And so I did take a picture of that bear. But again, the bears, we generally hike in groups of 3 or more for safety's sake. And up there, because hikers are talking and making noise, if you do see a bear or you've come up to one, we always try to make ourselves look really big, so we'll lift our backpack above our heads and stay together, but just, make a lot of noise. And honestly, the bears, they don't want to have anything to do with us. So we've never had problems.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the Bruce Trail Conservancy itself.
Right, so the Bruce Trail Conservancy is a charitable organization. The head office is located in Dundas, and there are staff that work for the Conservancy. The trail, which is just over 900 kilometers in length, is maintained lovingly by a team of volunteers. I think there's about 1,500 volunteers, of which I am one. I lead hikes and I can teach hikers to be hike leaders. So that's my position, if you will. So the Conservancy, we celebrated just over 50 years of the trail since it was founded. That was in 2017, I believe, that it was the 50th anniversary of the trail. The Bruce Trail Conservancy has an online hike schedule. Right now, we're not doing any group hikes, but that will hopefully change. And I direct people to that hike schedule to look for a hike that is suitable for your abilities. And they're all, the pace is listed for each of them. The distance is listed for each of them. So choose one that you like. If you're just getting into hiking, I can't say enough about how much I love hiking. The flora and the fauna for me, and as well as the social aspect of hiking has been great. The other thing is I'm a big badge collector. And Simone will show you a picture of some badges. But so these are just some of the badges. This one here was my first badge. So it's the Niagara end-to-end badge, and this badge is out of circulation now, so it's a collector's item.
Wow.
Anyway,
How many badges do you have in there, Ruth?
I'm not sure. I have a lot, and I'd like to collect. I'd like to collect them because it's a small reward for your achievement. So each section of the Bruce Trail, there's 9 sections, has a collection of different badges. And there are badges geared towards children. Many of the clubs, including Niagara and Iroquois, which we are on the border of, have badges for children. And there's also badges for adults, hence the big jar of badges. And those badges for adults can also be achieved by children if you're so inclined. Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
And you've done end to end a few times, haven't you?
I have. I think about 7 times.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. However, many people that I know that I hike with have done the trail more, and people wonder, well, once you do it once, why do it again? But for me, because I've hiked in different seasons, you always see something different on the trail, and it's a great form of exercise. They talk about forest bathing, so not only is it great physically, but it's also good mentally. Yeah,
Exactly. That's a wonderful note to end this interview on. Thank you so much. You've provided me with some links to the group hiking schedule and the information about badges and volunteering. I hope some families enjoyed this and learned a little bit about the trails that are locally and that are starting to open up, and you can still be safe while you're doing them. It's still something you can do while COVID-19 is an issue in our community. So thank you so much, Ruth, and have a wonderful trip in Lion's Head. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Simone, for having me.